Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today it's part 3 of the VK56 Teardown and Rebuild. Let's go. All right, I woke up super motivated this morning. I feel like we're gonna make a ton of progress today. As in the last video, I'm not sure everything we're gonna get to today, so I'll just put it right here. But other than that, let's just jump right into it. If you missed the first couple videos, I'll of course put them in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And that's it. Let's just keep going. Today we're going to start by focusing on the electronics. So we're going to remove the engine, they call it the engine room harness, the engine harness, and pull the battery out, and then get our grounds, make sure that all the electrics are off of the engine. And then, as we go, we're going to continue to pull off things like the hoses that go to the heater core, the front final drive, the front diff. If we get to that today, that would be awesome. But again, just like the last video, we're continuing to take any part that connects the engine to the actual truck off, so that way we can, well, pull out the engine. So before we do any of this, the only real electrical thing that we've taken off has been the wiper motor. So I'm not really worried about turning the key on the truck at the moment. So what I'd like to do though, before we go any further, is put the truck in neutral, put on the e-brake, chock the wheels, and then remove the battery, and then that will be the last time it has power until we rebuild it. All right, with the chock on the rear wheel, we are ready to take off our battery. So I'm gonna take the negative off first. There we go. Drop the positive. There we go. And then there's another bolt down below where we are going to, it's a battery holder is all it is. So I'm gonna take that off. That looks like a 12, let's check. Yeah, that's a 12. So let's pull that off as well, and then we can pull the battery out. Okay, this bolt's a bit excessive for this job, but whatever. Okay, so once that's free, flip that plate back, pull it out. Next up, we're going to start dealing with the engine harness. And the engine harness, we're going to treat a little bit differently. And the method I'm going to use is I'm going to take all kinds of pictures, tons of pictures, and I'm going to take them from different angles, and I'm going to make sure that I see just about every connector that I can. I know there's one that runs down here. I think it might be oil pressure or something, but the idea is that I'm going to mark one or two, and then the pictures will actually, help me figure out the rest. Now, for instance, I'm going to mark up here the throttle body, so I know that on the right side, I bring this entire row over here, this entire loom over here, and I plug it into the throttle body, and then just about everything else falls into place. So you'll see that, for instance, the coil pack connector here will only fit right here if I have this connected. So I hope that makes sense. That's the method I'm going to use to remove all of this. I'm going to start on this side and then start working on the other and try to get all of the harnesses pulled back and away from the engine. And to start on this side, I'm going to start with what's probably going to be the most difficult one, which is the one that runs down the front and is kind of intertwined between some pulleys down below. So let's go take a look at that one, pull that off, and then we can come back up and pull this entire side off. So suspicion's confirmed. It's down here next to the oil filter. And so we just need to disconnect that. And somehow, there's a lot of these little connectors here, but hopefully we'll somehow have to wind it through here and, and get it to the top of the engine. So I have my little bent needle nose here. Try to rock this off. There we go. Nice. All right. So I just grabbed them like this, pinched it, and then just gently rocked it back and forth off that sensor. And then there's one little clip right here already that's into the side of the block, well, probably upper oil pan, but it doesn't matter. So I'm trying to pinch onto the little zip tie and just pull. It's not going well, frankly. And the loom is completely falling apart, so that's cool. All right, trying something a little different. I'm gonna get a little pick in here, try to pull it. Good old pick and pull. It looks like this has a little clamp on it that I can try to back off. That'd be really nice if I could do that. Okay, now, it's incredibly improbable that you saw that, but this is sort of like a reusable zip tie. So I jammed the little pick, I jammed this in between the zip tie and this clip here, and then I was able to slide it off To be honest, I'm completely shocked that I didn't break that, because that's usually what I do. So for now, I'm gonna push it up into this hole that it's coming out of, and that way it doesn't get caught on this. It doesn't get caught on this when we go to pull it through. So I started to pull it up through the kind of in between the pulleys, and it turns out that it is fed between the AC pump and the fan pulley bracket, and there's about that much space. So we can't actually get the harness, the connector through without taking off the fan pulley bracket. Very cool. It's one of those jobs that kind of one thing leads to another, right? Unfortunately, the AC pump is also screwed into the side of the pulley bracket. So we have to take that bolt out for the AC pump, and then there's gonna be 4 more bolts or nuts combination, one of the two, to pull off for the fan pulley bracket. So let's do that. Behind the pulley bracket, there is going to be another one of those plastic zip tie type connectors, and it's behind it, and it's packed in sand on mine. So regardless, let's pull that out. That should free up that harness in the back, and then we should be able to pull it out. You can access 2 of the 4 mounting bolts from down below. I'm doing it from up top simply so you know you can see it. But so there's that one. There's that. Perfect. And the other one should be right next to it. This is actually one of those occasions where you can see more than I can see. Slide both of those out. Now before we take the top 2 support bolts off of the fan pulley bracket, we want to tackle the one that has the AC pump holding onto it. So this is going to be another one of those that are kind of exceedingly difficult to show you, but I'll take a picture. If you just put your hands on the top of the AC pump, you're literally touching the bolt. So it's right behind it, right behind the pulley. And so we just want to take that one off. And while we're at it, let's take that black connector off behind it. That's a standard connector, just like the one down below that we just took off. We want that off because that's actually tied into the harness that we're trying to pull out. Excellent. Perfect. Slide that out. So I'm gonna grab the pliers. I gotta tell you, these bent needle nose pliers, they are handy. All right, so I think, try to clip this, there we go. There we go, nice. And that's off. Now, not gonna lie, these are gonna be basically required. These are excellent. Needle nose pliers with a bent tip. I'll throw a link in the description if you wanna pick some up. All right, with all that free, we're gonna be able to go and grab the other 2. We have one up top like this. There we go, excellent. And 2 of these are on studs, which is good because once we loosen all these, we're gonna want it to stay up there because we wanna be able to pull it off in a controlled manner, only because we have that little connector, right? That's holding on to that harness that we're trying to pull out. Last one should be to the left of the pulley. So right there. And as you can see, the bracket's starting to flop around, which is perfectly fine. That's what we want. All right, so in the last video, we talked about some really stupid designs that Nissan was sort of guilty of, at least in my book. And this is no exception. So let me show you. All right, so back here, I'm gonna try to show you this. The little zip tie connector is right there. And it's like really far back on the bracket. And so what I'm gonna try to do is push the harness down as much as I can, basically give myself some slack to pull this off all the way. But again, what an absolutely wretched design. So this is where it was, look at this. All the way on the back against the block. I get it, like I understand that they want it away from the moving parts, but Jesus, that is ridiculous. So pull this off by jamming something between the zip tie and the, on the ribbed side, and that should slide right out, and then pull the bracket out. All right, with that out, set it aside. To free this harness up, there's 2 more clips we need to remove. One's a little pinchy one down here, and one's a pull. I got a pinch and a pull. So grab this one, pinch it and pull it out, and this one, pull. All right, that was an unbelievable PETA, but now that both of them are out, slide this back, and voila, all right. I can't believe this one little thing caused so many issues, but this is a good opportunity, obviously, once we pull all of this out, to redo the loom and stuff that's broken. So I have new loom that's going to be nice and healthy that I will swap this out with before we do the reinstall. But regardless, now the beauty is, in contrast, all of this is going to feel a heck of a lot easier. So I'm going to start disconnecting all the connectors up here and start peeling this entire harness back. So let's start doing that. So like we talked about before, I'm going to mark this connector, the throttle body. It's the one that's most forward and it's the main part of the harness. So I'm going to know that when I go to reassemble this, not only does this go to the throttle body, but it goes up this right side here. So I'm going to say, I just literally took some masking tape, put TB on it, and I'm going to wrap it around here. And then for safekeeping, if we got this one long squirrely one, I don't know how long I'm going to have the engine torn apart, and I may forget this. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one down below, and I'm going to say, you know, oil. I think it's oil pressure or oil temperature. It doesn't matter. I'm going to say oil. That's what I'll do. I'll put oil on it, and I know that this is the super annoying one that needs to get wired all the way down next to the oil filter. Once those are marked, I'm going to continue from here backward. All right, this has been a huge pain, to be honest, but we have most of the harness off on both sides. So we have everything from here to the very back. There's a couple just little clips that are holding it in place, and then same on the other side. Now, there is a portion of the harness that splits off and goes down to the transmission, so we're not going to fully remove this. We're just going to kind of tuck it back behind behind the engine, and then kind of strap it up here to make sure that it doesn't get yanked on when we're pulling the engine out. Now, during my little montage there, you saw that the right-hand side wheel well cover was removed. That's going to make it a lot easier to access the side of the engine. I'll probably do it on this side as well. To do that, just follow along the edge and take all the screws and body panel clips out, and that will come right out. Now, before we finalize pulling this back, I want to take off a few other things. That's going to be the fuel line, the EVAP, the vacuum lines, and the heater hoses over on the other side. So let's take those back, and then we can secure our harness up against the firewall. The vacuum line for the brake booster should be nice and easy. Just pull that clip off. And then this looks like it's a little plastic connector, so be gentle on this as you're pulling it off. Maybe put some counter pressure on there. There we go. And then I'm just going to tuck that under that AC line, and we'll just kind of throw that on top of the intake manifold, because it kind of runs under and runs into the intake here. We can pop it off if we wanted to. It's just, it's just back there right now. It's kind of a pain in the ass, so we might do that later. There's a hard line down here that you can remove the EVAP from. It doesn't really matter. There's like 6 connections in here if you want to remove it from pretty much any of those, whatever's most convenient. Let's save this. Okay. Kind of carving that a little bit. Shouldn't do that. There we go. Perfect. So that's disconnected. And I'll take some plastic and a zip tie and just zip tie that off. Just don't want stuff getting in there. Next up, let's release this fuel line. Now, if you're not watching my entire videos and you're not watching them in order, previously we did release the pressure in this fuel line. So do not attempt this until you've released the pressure. So you don't want to have a huge spraying mess on your hands. But regardless, there should be, a little bit of fuel left in here. So I'm just going to grab a little shop towel and put that underneath to catch any fuel that comes out. Next up, we want to grab some fuel line release tools. These are, fuel and AC. You can get ones that have different, there's different varieties, different sizes. There's multi-tools. All of those, all those will work. I'm not sure what size we're going to use yet, but I'll let you know once we do. All right, I have about 19 of these different tools, and not a single one seems to fit. So super duper. Let's try one more. No, that's awesome. I'm not even joking. Look at, I have like seriously about 9 different sizes, but apparently the one that I need, I don't have. Go figure, huh? All right, I ran to the store and picked up some plastic ones. And I picked up plastic ones because, well, they'll bend if I need them to bend, right? And just kind of make it work. So this one looks like it's the closest. They don't even have sizes listed on the package, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So we're just gonna try this one here. Push this around. There we go. Push forward on the fuel line, going into the rail. Push this in, there you go, and then pull the whole thing off, just like that. So lift it off of this retaining clip and pull it out. There we go. Draining a little bit of fuel. Let me get more paper towel. So again, kind of dumb, they don't have the sizes listed, but in my package it was the small light blue one. So same story as before. I'm gonna get some plastic and a zip tie and get them over top of these things and cinch them tight to try to avoid, well, not only fumes, but also just things getting into the hoses themselves. There we go. All right, on this side now, we can finally take our fuel line, be relatively gentle with that. Take our EVAP, flip that back, and now we can take our whole harness and pull that up. Awesome. And I'm gonna grab another hefty zip tie and we'll pull it up and zip it up against the firewall here. Looks like crap, but I don't care. It's gonna keep our wires up and out of the way. Next up, I wanna tackle the 2 hoses that go into effectively the heater core inside of the cab. And I'm just gonna disconnect them from the engine side, right? Because that's obviously the engine's leaving. So that way we can pull these up, and I'll probably actually just slide them into here, but regardless, they'll be up and away so the motor can come out. I took a picture just so I remember where each one goes. Again, it should sort of be obvious the way that the hoses are shaped, and we're leaving them right here, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So I'm gonna take this one off first. It's connected on the rear here. I'm just gonna grab this like a little worm clamp. I'm gonna grab, well, let's see, I don't have much space. I'm gonna try to grab a ratchet and get it on there as opposed to a screwdriver. All right, a little slow going, but we're there. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just gonna rock that back and forth until it comes out. Awesome. So now we just have a hose that's been securely clamped to this steel piece for 15 years. Oh, I also put, there shouldn't be a lot of antifreeze in here, but I also put that little splash pan on the bottom just in case there is some fluid that comes out when we finally get this off here. Okay, it looks like it's coming loose. Nice. All right, so there's a little bit. Just had to adjust the pan a little bit. Awesome. Not bad at all. So I'm gonna grab that, flip it up here. There. Probably just jam it into this, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Works for me. Let's go do the other side. So the other one here, this has a standard little clamp on it, which actually leads me to believe that if the other one had a worm clamp, it was probably replaced. Probably trying to fix the heat problem. But for this one, we just need to grab some needle nose pliers. I don't know if needle nose is going to work on a clamp that big. Let's see here. Let's try our bent ones. Oh, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Lift up. Come on. They're super tight. At least I'm rotating it, making it a little bit easier to access. Now that I have them rotated, I'm going to try to squeeze channel locks on there. I find these just a lot easier to work with, you know. There we go. There, let's go. Yes. Come on. All right. I was able to get that off there. And we're going to pull the hose off now. All right, if we find a place to, is that the rad support? Yeah, that'll hold my weight, right? Famous last words. All right. Come on. Yes. There we go. Hopefully that's making it into the tub over there. Whatever. Well, it looks like it didn't make it. Of course, I'm off by, 6 inches, so time for some more super clean. Dealing with that later. All right, with both of those disconnected, I already put one, kind of tucked it into the top of the firewall here. I'm going to do the same with the other one. There we go. Now, those are out of the way. Now I'm looking to finalize pulling the other side of the harness off, or the right side here. And we're most of the way there, so if we grab it and sort of pull it back, you'll see that, well, first of all, I went ahead and removed the PCV hose and just labeled that and set it aside. We had already disconnected it earlier. And then if we want, we can pull this back right now, but you'll see there's a few things here that are connected. Just a couple brackets holding the main harness in, and there's a couple clips on the back. So this one is attached to the transmission fluid level indicator. In the next video, we tackle the transmission fluid level indicator. And so just by doing that, that will release the clip back here. So for now, like I said, I'm just going to take this, tie it back as far as I can, and then once we deal with that, it will release it. All right. There's a couple more tasks I want to complete before we call this video a wrap, and that is remove the power steering pump and its reservoir, remove the AC, and disconnect the alternator. But before we do that, I want to clear up a little bit more space up front. So I'm going to remove the upper radiator hose, lower radiator hose, and from the bottom of the reservoir, there's another coolant hose below that. So I'm going to start with the upper radiator hose, pull that off. There we go. There's a little black clip that connects this coolant hose to the upper rad hose. Just pull that off. I'm hoping I'm going to get a cool radiator hose kit when I go to reassemble this, but in the meantime, I have to be gentle with these, make sure that I don't hurt them. There we go. Woo! Finally. The other side coming out of the thermostat housing is the lower hose. This is going to have a bracket that supports it down here, which we're going to remove after we pull this hose off. Awesome. All right, I suspect this is a 12, and it is. Perfect. So just pop that off. And that's nice because this is going to clear up space to easily work with our AC pump. Label that if you need to. Set it aside. Our third one should be nice and easy. Just grab the clamp here. There we go. Just give me some room. Come on, there we go. Excellent. Oh, well, make sure you have your pan out. This has happened before. There we go. Now we can let it drain. So now we have a ton of space to work on. Really everything we need to work on at this point. Power steering, AC, and our alternator down below. So let's swing over here and pull off our power steering stuff. Now the bracket that holds the power steering reservoir up actually is holding onto a harness that we're going to disconnect from the alternator in just a little bit here. So just pop that off by sliding your flathead in there. That disconnects that. And that should free that up. Awesome. Push that aside. And now we're going to have 2 bolts here. I believe those are going to be 14s. Let's take a look. Do the top one first. Yep, those are 14s. One is right below the tank. There's that one. And the other one is right above the pump. And in fact, it looks like it might be a tight squeeze in there. So I just got my ratcheting wrench in there to pull that off. Now have a little bungee cord ready. This is where I'm going to start employing bungee cords as to reduce stress on all these hoses. So let me pull this back. There we go. I'm just going to grab that bungee cord, put it through the bracket here, and then bring it up to the radiator support. Snap it up there. I just wrapped it around this and latched it up. Once we pull off the power steering pump, we'll have to have, of course, a much heftier bungee cord and hold that up to the side somewhere down there. Now looking back through the wheel well, we're going to see a pretty clear view of what needs to be accomplished. This is the harness we just disconnected from the bracket. There's also a clip, like seriously 2 inches away from the other clip, that's retaining it into the back of this, just this little bracket here. So let's pop that off. And then it looks like there's going to be 2 bolts holding it on. There's one down below that looks like it's a 14, and then one up above that is a 12. And you need to go through the face of the pulley to pull those off. I'm going to go from up above to get to these bolts. There we go. Looks like it has a little nut retainer there. Back that off. You can see that coming off here. Let me not drop it. Oh, well, whatever, it's fine. All right, same story up above with the 12. Let's see how tight this one is. Oh, nice. Very easy. Now the 14 I'm going to push back in and just keep that there for now. The small one on the other side, I'm going to back all the way out. Now I want to have a plan in place before we pull this off. I want to find a place to sort of cinch this up. There's a hole in the wheel well near the top, or actually it looks like the inner fender, but I'm going to pull back on one of the bungee cords, try to get this in here, and I'll show you a picture of it. There we go, perfect. And then I have that cinched in there, and basically I'm going to wrap it back around and hook it up to the same hole. So let me pull this back. All right, so let's see how this goes. Slide that out. All right, so that's out. It's likely still being pinched in place here. Yeah. There we go. So once that's loose, I'm going to bring my bungee cord through the pulley. There we go. And then cinch it back up to this hole. Come on. There we go. Woo! Power steering pump has been sorted. All right, for the AC compressor, we have, well, really, we just have 3 more bolts because we took one out earlier this morning when we did the fan pulley bracket. So there's going to be one directly to the right of that and then 2 on the bottom of the compressor. So I'm going to start with the ones on the bottom here. These are 14 millimeter. So let's pop that off. All right, looks like it's pretty serious business here. There we go. There's that one. Probably getting arm cam here again. There we go. Then there's one behind it. There we go. All right, that one's out too. Yeehaw. All right, let's go remove the top bolt, and this whole thing should move to the side. So our last bolt on the compressor is right near the sort of the upper right-hand side, and I'm going to grab some twine prior to taking that off and just have it ready to tie up before we take that bolt out. I'm going to string it through the hole that the first bolt went through that we took out. So I'm just going to take that and just sort of have that ready. Now I'm going to grab my 14 millimeter socket and try to sort of unbury this here from the sand. I'm gonna need something longer. Longer and stronger. There we go. That ought to do it. There we go, excellent. So with one hand, I'm going to back the bolt out, and with the other, I'm gonna hold the twine so it doesn't just fall out. It's on a little ledge, sort of holding it up, but even still. All right, so that's out. Just holding it with my other hand here. And then we just want to set it down, see if it'll set down there. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna tie it up here to the right. So if you look, you'll see that it is, in fact, clearing it. It's not clearing it by much, but you know, it's free of the engine. All right, let's go move on to our alternator, and then we'll call this a wrap. All right. It's going to be a little hard to see this last bit here, but we have our alternator harness hooked up here, and it needs to be the opposite of hooked up. So I'm going to grab probably a 10 millimeter, maybe a, let's take a look at this one here, this connector. Well, that looks like a 10 or maybe a 12, and then there's a standard little electrical clip, like a, you know, regular electrical connector. You press the little thing. Oh my God, I'm losing it. It's been a long day. Okay, electrical connector, regular little one. You push down on the tab and you pull. Don't know why that was so hard to say, but let's do it. Now this one connector in the rear, it's 10 millimeter. Pull that off, a little ground strap or something. I'm just gonna put that bolt right back in. There you go, so that one's disconnected. This one here, hopefully, please, please, please be easy. Oh, yes. Thank you, truck, for not fighting me on that one. And then we have this guy here. Let me see what size that is. It is a 12. All right, so let's pull that off. I'm probably gonna do that from up top, actually. Oh, much better. See if I can back this off with my fingers. All right, there we go, it's free. Now that it is free, I'm gonna pull it off and then just put the nut back on. A couple threads here so I don't misplace it. Oh, speaking of misplacing, where did it just fall to? Ah. All right, well, I'm gonna find that after I'm done shooting this. Take this opportunity to grab it and bring it back up here, just so it's out of the way. There we go. Wow, what a day. So it's getting pretty darn hectic in the garage here. So one thing you're gonna wanna start considering is how you're gonna organize your bolts. So for now, what I've been doing is basically replacing the bolt after you take it out. So like, if you take the AC pump out, slide the bolt back in. That's fine up to a point. Once we actually start disassembling the engine, it's gonna be more and more difficult to do that, of course, right? Because the whole point is taking it apart. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Right now, since I only have a couple things, I'm literally just gonna write like power steering on this, throw all the power steering bolts in this. Same thing with AC, throw all the bolts in it. For these, I'm gonna continue to use my masking tape method, throw a little masking tape on it, just write, you know, lower rad hose, upper rad hose, whatever you wanna do to try to make sure that you don't forget where everything goes. Also, leading up to the job, you can be saving jars of things. So like jellies or pickles, you know, things out of the fridge. You can have some glass jars. That way you're reusing it instead of just throwing away Solo cups. Another method some people use if they have a lot of table space is getting like a big sheets of brown paper, and you can literally just write, you know, AC pump and then set the bolts there, so on and so forth to organize it. Also, there is the cardboard punch through method, which I use when I do things like the front timing cover. So if there's like 18 bolts for one piece and they need to go in a specific place, I'll literally draw out the cover on a piece of cardboard and then punch the holes through them and then slide a bolt in to make sure it's organized and we know exactly where it goes when we go to reassemble. In the next video, we are getting this motor out of here. We are so close at this point. Really, all we need to do is disconnect the front final drive or the front diff, and we need to remove the transmission from the engine. and then we'll be ready to lift it out. If you want to support this build or my channel in general, you could of course just subscribe for more videos like this. Make sure you like and comment below for some interactions. Or if you want to go above and beyond, you can also pick yourself up a t-shirt from rtcg.tv, clicking the merch button. Just don't read this shirt too closely. I fixed the spelling before I released it. And lastly, down below, we have Amazon links, and I'm an Amazon affiliate. Just purchasing through those links helps support the channel. I get a sort of a kickback as an affiliate, and you don't have to pay any extra using those links. I want to thank you for sticking with me so far. This is video 3, and next video we're pulling it out. Then we have an entire series of rebuilding the engine. So really looking forward to it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.